We've got a great topic today. I'll be working with Kelly Cox here. We'll introduce her some more. But let's start off with our general session sponsor for this morning. The company is Resideo, and the man is George Janellis, who is the residential new construction market lead. Come on up, George. Tell us about what's going on with Resideo.
Hey, thanks, John.
You get the
Appreciate
clicker.
it. Morning, everybody. Hope everybody had a good time last night. So before we get into a little details on this, I'm going to show you a little video, a little bit about what Resideo does, and then I'll get into some details. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Resideo. There we go. So you know Resideo as the brands we offer. Honeywell Home, First Alert, BRK, those are all our brands. We have a strong partnership with Brilliant, the lighting company, and home control, smart home company, so we have a strong partnership with them. But beyond product, one of the things that we really offer, we take pride in, is being able to be your consultant. And we work with you to be able to work through all the things that are going on in the marketplace today, working on that transition to what smart home really is and what can we do to help you get there. Being able to talk about the best installation and the products that meet those budgets that you are working with, to be able to work with you to make sure we're in line with the things that you're doing. And be able to add the value that you want to provide in your homes along with those things that are really important to consumers these days. So we really work as a consultative type of approach with you to be able to provide those right solutions, going above and beyond those fabulous products that we do have. When you take a look at Resideo and our connected home, we really do have an end-to-end solution. I use that expression quite a bit as an end-to-end, meaning we have products that go into all facets of the home. Whether we're talking about hume and dehume, whether we're talking about security and water, right, energy, big thing these days with ESG and sustainability. So we work a lot with those types of products and being able to provide those in the home to be able to provide a nice, true end-to-end solution. You can see here by some of the numbers about the things that we impact with having millions of connected devices, whether they're going to be our own devices or working with third-party companies out there in the marketplace. With our developers, and being able to devise and develop these things that are really important throughout the home. So we really do have a big ecosystem that we have out there in the marketplace. And we look at these things a little bit differently, rather than saying, okay, here's our security thing, or here's our dehumidification product. And yes, we have all of those products. But we try to break these out into different type of solutions that you can bring forward to your customers. So if you're looking at something you're looking to provide a wellness type of environment in your home and worrying about that air quality, we're going to put products together. Some are going to be our own. We could even do some third-party things and be able to provide a solution for you that's going to meet what you're looking for. The one in the middle, when working these days, a lot of things are happening on the ESG front, and being able to maintain that sustainability and what we're doing out there in the marketplace, not only from what we're doing from our point of view, and being able to make sure that we are doing the right things with our packaging and our products, right? But also, what can we do for the homeowner, because people are concerned about this, and we want to make sure that we're maintaining what they're expecting in the marketplace regarding a ESG and sustainability front. So they're really important things to us in today's market. So I know I'm supposed to take a lot of time on you, John. I know you got a thing to get to. But if you're interested, scan the QR code there quickly before they take it down, and you can take a look at some things on our Build Smart program. You can go to it by going to residio.com/builder or Build Smart. Either one will get you there. And if you're here today, we're going to be at the showcase, and you can come by and see us at booth 402. So thank you for the time, and if there's anything we can answer, please come up and see us at the booth. Thank you.
Let's get to our session. First of all, Kelly Cox, introduce yourself a little bit to the group so they know what you do. ADT is a well-known brand, and you've got TV commercials, but give us just a high level on ADT and yourself.
We are obviously a well-known brand, been around for almost 150 years. So I'm Kelly Cox, National Strategic Partnership Manager for ADT, with a focus on builder and iBuyer and build to rent and all of those pieces that ADT has a lot of experience with. I've been with ADT for 16 years. And there's a lot of exciting things happening in the future, in the very near future.
Yep, that's great. You know, I talked about George and Residio's, you know, strong roots on the security side of things. Obviously, that's ADT's. It's a long part of the legacy. You've got a much broader offer now. But I think when I was thinking about the players on this session, and our topic is education and onboarding, I think the security industry has been a little closer to this issue than maybe some of the other categories. And you know, back when I started working with the Security Industry Association in the mid-90s, there was actually an existential threat to the security industry, which was false alarms. The police were going to stop responding to requests for a dispatch from call centers because there were so many false alarms, and it was such a drain on the municipal resources that, and that was a threat, right? Because monitoring is the lifeblood of the security industry, is a big threat for ADT. And so when I was at the Security Industry Association, we spent a lot of time trying to figure out, well, what is the false alarm problem? And there were some things on the technology side of things. There were some sensors that could be improved to filter out non-alarm type triggers. There were some process things like calling back the homeowner when there's an activation to see if they're actually there. But the number one thing that came up, I think was 65 to 70% of the problem, was user error.
Absolutely.
And user error is basically the people don't know how to operate the system, right? So the whole industry, big industry, had an existential threat in the 90s that was around bad onboarding and education for the user. So I think the companies in this space have spent more time thinking about what the tools and tactics are to get good education and onboarding in place, because it was such a big deal for them. And that's why I think it's great for you to be up here on the panel and for Residio to be sponsoring this. Here's what we're gonna cover today. We're gonna look at best practices on the onboarding and initial education side of things. We're trying to get a great start on the ownership experience. I'm gonna try to push another acronym here, ownership experience, OE, instead of customer experience or consumer experience. And then our flow is just, we're gonna look at 5 keys to great onboarding and education, not education. That was when I had a little bout of French, I think, education. Here are the 5 keys that we identified, Kelly and I working through this topic. But we should start with why is it important? So it was important to the security industry because it was an existential threat. But talk about the importance in terms of just buyer satisfaction of on this piece.
Well, the buyer satisfaction is so key because we want buyers, we want homeowners to use the technology that comes in their homes. And this isn't only the technology that the integrator's installing, but that your trades might be installing as well. And knowing how, for the user to have the education and the resources to refer back to of how to control their thermostat and their lights and their smart lock and have it all work together. Leaving that up to the homeowner or up to the builder, that's a heavy lift. and that should be the responsibility of the integrator.
Yeah, and you have a data point, which is really about people voting with their pocketbooks, about the length of engagement with the service when there is good onboarding and education versus when there isn't. It's about 30-40% longer that they're going to stay with their monitoring contract when there's good engagement on the education and onboarding piece, right?
Absolutely, and we especially see that in new construction. Those homeowners that are buying those new homes tend to stay with ADT. We only have ADT data to stay with ADT for a longer period of time and to actually use the technology.
What we're going to do on the 5 keys here is walk through each of the bubbles and kind of break it down a little bit. So the first piece really doesn't have a whole heck of a lot to do with actual delivery of orientation and training, but it's foundational, right? Which is you need to establish a system that is going to be simple to operate. The more challenging the operation of that system is, the more challenges there are on the training and such. So designing for some simplicity is really important. And then I think also in terms of a feature set, to have technologies that assist in these information flows, in the communications, that they're able to, through the platform itself, provide the training and information that the user needs to operate the system. Those are probably a couple of system design keys. Do you want to talk to that?
Sure, absolutely. So designing the system, designing the package that the builder's going to install is the first step. That's the ground level of building up for strong communication and education and onboarding. All those pieces have to work together. And it's not only how it works together when you turn the home over to the homeowner, but also how it's going to grow with that homeowner. So future-proofing, I know future-proofing is kind of a bad word to some, but being able to anticipate where technology is going and how that technology can be added and adapted to a homeowner.
So this is, we've got an example here of a simple system that a builder that some of you might know
Yes.
is doing. This is D.R. Horton's package. You all are involved with this along with your authorized dealer partners.
Our partners at Safe Haven are one of the best in the business at doing this. Safe Haven worked hand in hand with D.R. Horton to not only design a system of pieces that DRH really liked, but making sure that what they were choosing all worked together and communicated together and was simple to use together.
Yeah, so this is their standard. They've got a lot of support built around this, but this was
100%.
foundationally easy to teach the user how to operate it.
Absolutely.
So next key is selecting integrators that can do this work, right? And so I think there are a lot of integrators out there that can do the technical job. They could design a system, they can install a system, they may be able to support the system in the field. But the question is, do they have the communication and education and customer relations chops to really be a partner in this activity? And I mean, I don't have a percentage, but it's not a big percentage of the integrators that can do that.
Absolutely. I mean, working with technology is a whole different ball game compared to some of the other categories. Communication is key. Educating the right people at the right time in the right way with the right supporting documents is going to make everyone's life easier.
But there has to be this competency, this proficiency.
Absolutely.
And that's not like a lot of your other trades. So a lot of your other trades, you're really just looking for the technical chops. There's not going to be a lot of conversation around the plumbing system or the electrical system, or to some extent maybe on the HVAC, but not a ton of conversation there. This is a different animal. And so it's a different approach to vetting that particular trade partner that you want to query on their ability to communicate and educate with the consumer. It's important on the front end, on the sales and marketing side of things, because as we discussed in the first session, there's going to be handoffs Ken's got a lot of handoffs to his integrators on the sales and Kenneth Shea has a lot of handoffs to his integrators for the sales and marketing piece. He has to be sure that they're actually going to be able to handle that. That's not an easy task to find those. But it's also true on this system activation and onboarding side of things. It's communication skills rawly, but it's also, are they learning how people learn and able to communicate learning, which is different, right? Because there's like telling somebody, here's how you operate this, and then there's getting them to use it. There's active learning that's going to make the difference.
Well, I think it's also important that an integrator educates the builder and guides the builder on not only how this technology benefits and can be used by your homeowner, but also by the builder. A lot of this technology can help you today when the home is vacant, before appliances go in, before it's turned over to the homeowner. It can help with energy efficiency. It can help with vacancy control. We either have those experiences personally or know of those experiences of vandalism, theft, squatters, all those things. This technology can be used to protect those homes before the homeowner's even using it. And it's important that we can educate
We're
them.
going to get into that in a little more depth down the line here. So let's keep, so if you got a system that's trainable, do you have trade partners who can deliver training and onboarding? You need assets that go with this, right? And so, and it's like every other form of communication, they need to be multi-channel. There's digital, there's print, there's stuff that's interactive on an in-person basis, there's stuff that's interactive on a video conference basis. All of these different delivery paths require kind of a different set of assets. So it could be user flyers and one sheets and hang tags. Video, I think, is really important because there's a lot of experiential stuff and we can kind of show that videographically, and we've got an example of that. And then, like I said, the interactive training materials as well. This is an example of some of your stuff. Speak to that.
So some of what this is an example of some of the assets that we provide for our partners. We provide builder-facing material as a reference point of if our partners have questions about the technology, the package, who the homeowner should reach out to. That's one set. We have a customer-facing, and really customers want to be routed to, they don't want to keep a piece of paper. They want to be routed to a place that has this information. So we do that through landing pages, through videos that are loaded onto the panel. And then the other piece we have here is a panel cling that we actually cling onto the wall. It doesn't damage anything, it's just a cling. But it looks just like the panel. So the homeowner, when they're touring the home, when they are going through their final walkthrough with their construction team, that it's a trigger for the construction team of, oh yeah, remember you learned about this early on in the sales phase, that your home comes with technology, or that this technology can be added. This is our partner. They're going to be reaching out to you if they haven't already to schedule time to train.
Mm-hmm. I think we've got next this system operation overview. Part of what I wanted to do is just kind of show you what does this look like, because we could talk about it in the abstract, but I want to show you what good onboarding materials and initial education materials look like. Can we roll the video, please, Jeff? think that whistle soundtrack has been used on so many technology things. I guess when you're whistling, it says it's easy to do.
I guess.
It's good music. But what I liked is, because I'm more of a hierarchical guy on the user interface, and swiping is not natural to me. I don't think first to swipe. I just went through this with some interface that we had. And so that it was teaching the swiping technique to people like me who don't like to swipe for 3 or 4 screens before it just started to swipe it itself. So that was cool. I mean, see, that's well thought through human interface training, I think. And it's in partnership with your panel manufacturer on that?
With Qualsys on that.
Yeah.
And the thing with that is education goes beyond just those videos that we're downloading. We can push messages. So how great would it be if one of your warranty calls consistently is an issue with the furnace, and all it is a furnace filter that needs to be changed? We can push those messages through this Qualsys panel to send a reminder to those homeowners that it's time to change your furnace filter. Click on the YouTube link to learn how to change your furnace filter. So, which lowers warranty calls. This education goes beyond just what we're doing. This can be implemented into an overall customer experience, homeowner experience.
Yeah, I think you're setting us up for the afternoon session, where we'll talk about how the cloud and the connections could be leveraged for maintaining more than just the technology. So thanks for that setup.
Sure.
Okay, so we've got a system that's trainable. We have selected an integration or some trade partner who can do the communicating. We've established a set of assets for them to work with. But the builders are part of this equation, right? So it's like training and familiarizing. I'm calling them the builder messengers and guides. They're not going to be the definitive deliverers in most cases of the authoritative operational information, but they can be part of the process, and that's it at every layer here, from the initial sales introduction to, as folks are getting deeper into what's in the house itself at the design center, and then even the construction folks who are touching the consumer along the way in the process. Speak to some of that.
Absolutely. We know that your sales teams, their focus is selling homes, not selling the technology. We don't really want them selling the technology or talking too in depth, right? We talked a couple days ago about knowing just enough to be dangerous.
Knowing enough to not be dangerous.
Not be dangerous. Sometimes we find that they know a little too much to be dangerous. So introducing, this is the technology that's going in the home, and here's the benefits to the homeowners. And still providing those resources where if there are questions during that sales phase, they can reach out to our dedicated team to answer those questions. The same for the design center. The design center teams, they're not trained to sell this technology necessarily. So providing them those resources, and then arming the construction team when they're wrapping up those homes, when they're turning it over to the homeowner and doing the final walkthrough, to educate them on that. And we talked earlier about getting the right information to the right people in the right time in the right way. And this is a perfect example of that.
Mm-hmm. And then we think that part of getting that builder staff comfortable with the technology message is for them to maybe be using it and benefiting from it, right?
Absolutely. We understand the importance that all of our builder partners have in protecting not only their assets with using technology in the model homes and in the spec homes, but also protecting their personnel. And there has to be there should be an encompassing ecosystem of technology to protect both of those. And ADT has done that with our free app. You can use it today. Your teams, your staff can use it today. You do not have to be an ADT customer to use this. It's our So Secure app. And we know with like the traditional panic buttons that integrators have been installing forever and ever, that only works within the walls of that model home. So if I'm a sales agent, a realtor, and I'm showing a spec home 3 or 4 streets away, everyone has their phone in their hand. So they can utilize that technology that's already in their hand to help give a level of safety and protection when they're somewhere else. So through the app, they can contact ADT as a dedicated special team. that they can talk to us through a one-button touch, they can text, they can use a secret phrase, and if there is an emergency event, we dispatch directly to their GPS location. So this is an important piece to protect your staff as well.
Yeah, I think there's an emotional element to the training and onboarding as well as an informational, right? Or like in sales, we say the buyer believes what you believe. If you don't believe in the product, the buyer's not going. If there's all sorts of nervous, I'm not familiar with that vibe being sent early in the game, in the sales and the design center process, and it's becoming a mystery or something to be afraid of, people are going to be less receptive to those messages on how to operate it.
Yeah.
So I think getting a level of, hey, I use some of this same technology that you're going to be using myself here. It's easy. I just use not so much information as to this is exactly how it's going to operate for you, but to communicate a comfort level with the basic operation of the systems, and no better way to do that than to get them using it themselves, right?
And sales is going to use it, and the design center team is going to use it because that technology should be in the models, should be in the design centers. So they're going to use the hardware, they're going to use the app, the interface already. So they should, just by using it, they're going to be educated on how to present that solution to their home buyers.
All right, let's keep going. This piece is called Designing and Guiding the User Training Journey. So we kind of got to map this out, and then we got to participate in the activities along that map. So let's see what the boxes are that we added in here. Box 1, demonstrated and kinetic experiences in the model, sales center, and design center. So I think what that's talking about is we've got a lot of sales automation in the model where you can actually see how the technology is operating, and that lays a foundation, and there's demonstrations in the models and sales centers, and then some of that as well in the design center, not enough to turn the person into an expert operator, but there needs to be a little something down there. Speak to that. What are you guys doing with builders in these areas?
Yeah, so this is the technology going the models in the design centers, and that's staff using the technology every day, using the app, using the hardware, just becoming part of their daily routine.
Right. And training during the walkthrough or turnover, what do we call that? What are the terms that you all use for when you are about to turn possession over and you are giving the buyer keys to the house? Is that called what is the terminology?
Final walkthrough?
Final walkthrough. I want a list of the specific terms so I can speak the language here.
I would also like a list because we only refer to it as final walkthrough.
Delivery?
Thank you.
Okay, so this is the delivery, those moments of delivery. What are we going to do there from an onboarding and training perspective?
So this is making sure that the construction team that's delivering that home is educated, has gone through the onboarding and education as well, and has all the assets for the homeowner.
Yeah, and I think Safe Haven, they have a rep from Safe Haven there at the moment of delivery, at the final walkthrough or whatever piece of that part of that process is. They are there for, I want to say, up to an hour, familiarizing the buyer with the system.
Right, and it's not always, it's a lot of the time, and it's not them just showing up. They've communicated with the builder and also with the homeowner to schedule that training session, and what better time to learn that technology as soon as you get that home.
Yeah. So, I mean, if stuff like this isn't happening with your buyers on your technology systems and they have some level of complexity, it ain't going to go well. I mean, I want you to know what to be looking for. So if there isn't some attention paid, especially in this phase with the delivery, and Safe Haven's really resourced it well, we're probably not going to get off to a good start. Then I have early support, phone, video, conference, and in person.
This is key. And I want to mention that I know this looks like a lot. The integrator should be doing the bulk of this. We should be carrying this weight. The support after the homeowner moves into their home is also key. So with ADT, we have a concierge team, we have a dedicated 800 number, and we have our dedicated community reps that are there as a resource for those homeowners. Even
Right.
if they don't sign up for ADT, they still have that technology in their home.
Right.
They have a way, they're still a resource to answer questions.
So they're like Genius Bar people, right?
Right.
Basically, field Genius
I
Bar.
love whenever we're called geniuses, so sure.
And these are some of the, who are these folks?
So these are some of our dedicated builder community reps, and their responsibilities really focus on nurturing relationships with the community staff. This is both sales and install, and they do this so that the sales and install teams, that community staff, knows who the boots on the ground are, who their local resources
Yep.
they can go to. If they don't want to call an 800, it's an 800 number answered directly by our team,
Yep.
but call a number, try to track down information.
This picture, the two sunglassed people, that reminds me of the movie Beethoven when they were trying to buy his company. I think it's David Duchovny is one of the guys, but I don't know, for some reason it just grabbed me.
Well, Mike, can you make a note to pass that on, that delivery?
And then the concierge, so you've got people in the field who can have personal relationships, who can show people in person, and
And
it might not
inspecting
happen
the equipment.
instantly all the
Yeah.
time, but it's going to get scheduled. And then you've got somebody at the call center. This is in a conference room at the call center. It's not in the skiff of the call center. We couldn't show any pictures in the call center
cannot
itself.
show
This is a conference room.
But the thing is, they don't sit in a call center. So this isn't a traditional call center. Homeowner's gonna be called 10 times, pitching them on ADT. Our concierge team doesn't work that way. This is a dedicated team that their focus is customer service. And reaching out to that homeowner, that process begins before they've moved in. Congratulations on your new home. We'd like to schedule time to complete your training on the technology that comes in with your new home.
And these are some of those assets that go with the initial onboarding and education and the short term right after it. Speak to what those things are. Are there lots of versions of these things?
There's lots of versions because not every builder is the same. Not every builder is getting the same program, the same package. We don't really have a cookie cutter system, a cookie cutter program. So we're really developing each of these on our partners' needs.
Yep.
But creating those battle cards, both the builder facing and the customer facing, as a
So
resource.
what's the process like when you work with a builder on that? I mean, is there a lot of back and forth? Are you working with their communications teams to integrate the message and customize and such?
We are, and we are also learning. We learn how their organization best communicates.
Yeah.
Like, what is their path today, and how can we best utilize these assets
Yeah.
to fit in with their current process? We don't want to have you create and learn a whole new process.
Yeah. So I think this takes us back to that integrator selection bubble, which is, does the integrator have the communication capacity, right? If you're working with an integrator where there's not a communications person to be found, there's a bunch of technicians and a lead design engineering, you're not likely to get this sort of collaboration to really communicate with the consumers.
Well, an important
I would
thing-
say, I'm not
Yeah.
trying to shill for ADT. There's a lot of other integrators that have this capability, but it's I think a blind spot for some of the builders to not be looking for this skill set, this competency within their integrator partners, because you're not going to get these materials developed the right way otherwise, are you?
Well, and it's not only that, but this material, these pieces, and our communication styles, we understand the importance that when we're in the field, when we're customer facing with both our partners and with our homeowners, that we're representing not only our brand, but we're representing your brand, especially with those homeowners.
Yep.
That they've purchased a house from this builder, it comes with this technology, it was installed by ADT.
Yep.
What questions do they have? What type of training experience did they have, and what's this ongoing support after that? That's going to affect your brand as well.
Yeah, I don't know whether you've got like a picture of this from a metrics perspective, but what I see happening is that there's a big burst of activity around the delivery of the home. And it's not just that moment of delivery, and it's not just physical, but maybe it's a 2-month window. And if that's done right, then these self-serve assets are self-serve. If it's not done right, it's a lot of non-self-serve sort of assistance and a lot of agitation. I mean, is that how it flows in best case scenario? You've got these assets, you got to recognize that people are going to forget stuff, or the household's going to change and somebody else is going to need to be trained on that system. But if you have that burst of activity and then you have those assets in place, they'll be used the right way and you won't have agita, as my people say.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, hold on. So is that it? I'm going to go back to my my bubbles. Sorry, it's quiet out there. Does anyone have questions for us? Ken Peterson, you always have questions. Shout them out.
So somebody has their system, they're in the home for 6 months, and they want to expand, like a DR work package. What's the process for expanding cameras, switches? Do they call you?
So they have information that's already preloaded on their panel that drives them directly where they need to go. We try to make it as simple as possible for them.
Who else has questions? Come on, I know it's early. We could wait them out.
Oh, I don't think we should.
This is like the unsexy part of home technology, but if you don't get it right, then everything else you did in advance doesn't matter, because you're going to get crappy net promoter scores and people are going to be dissatisfied. And we're trying as an industry, it's the crazy ant in the basement is what I've described this as, is the level of utilization and system satisfaction. We're trying to do better, but you got to kind of drive it too, because you own that customer too. And
Well, the hard thing for a builder is they don't know what they don't know.
Yeah.
So if you haven't gone through this process before and you're going in blind,
Yeah.
don't try to figure it out yourself. Don't try to create these processes by yourself.
Yeah.
Learn from integrators that have gone through this process, that have noodled out some of the bugs, and lean on us for that.
Yep. Okay. So you may have seen some information and heard a little bit about this, but I wanted to take just a few minutes to do a brief commercial. I'm not going to walk you through our whole guest prospectus, but I am going to go through some key concepts for our Housing Transformation Summit. This was launched last December. It was actually here that we launched it. It almost killed us, but we did do it, and it was the third in-person event that we produced in the second half of last year. And the origins of this idea were, when we launched Tech Home Builder in 2001, we always had a dual mission. Part of it was IT solutions for builders, part of it was the home technology piece. And it really, as a print publication for the first 6 or 7 years before the housing depression, it had that dual mission. When Tech Home Builder was relaunched after being on ice from 2008 through 2013, we had more of a pure home technology focus, but we had these legacy relationships with the digital solutions providers, and we had launched here at Tech Home Builder a thing called the Solutions segment. COVID struck. We decided, we really like what's going on in that solutions segment, and there was really an inflection point for the digital sales and marketing tool sets. So we wanted to make that a co-star, more of a starring role in an event. And then we see digital transformation really driving innovation in the home itself, in the products that go into the home, and the relationship between the vendors and the builders. And so that's what housing transformation is about. It's one part digital transformation, it's one part innovation, inspiration. And we got really good ratings on this content last year. Here's the high level concept of housing transformation. It's about helping you increase your share of market. If you look at the dollars spent on housing in the US, this is from 2021, it was almost like $3.5 trillion, but 2/3 of that is spent on used house purposes. There's another 13% spent on the closely allied to used houses, home improvement category, 12% on residential rent. And builders are sitting here with 9% of the total market, despite being the best branded, the most operationally proficient, and some of the best capitalized companies in the space. So we think builders can do a lot better. They can poach market share from the used houses and home improvement categories, and here's how. Number one is differentiation. So the home itself, we need to get to the same perception of a new home that we have of a new car. That new car you expect is way better than a 5-year-old or a 10-year-old car. We don't have that sort of expectation with homes. And part of that's because your innovation time clock out there, builders, doesn't tick particularly fast, and we aren't able to bring new innovative feature sets into our houses as rapidly as we would like. So part of what we're trying to do is accelerate the inclusion of on-trend and innovative features in homes, and to personalize, because this is another piece of differentiation. You cannot custom order your used house, but you can custom order your new home. And you can do that with technology on a schedule and profitably as well. The second pillar of differentiation is the buying experience, and that's going to be digital. It's going to be a mix of digital and physical, but that's another area for improvement in terms of competing for market share. And then to get into the post-occupancy side of things, post-delivery side of things, Ken, is like, how are we going to provide a better living experience? How do we care more about that living experience? And then how do we leverage these digital tool sets and service providers like ADT? Kelly was talking about maintenance of not just the technology system, but how do we leverage digital ownership apps and ecosystem of service providers to provide a better asset management experience? Because I'm going to live with this product, but it's also one of my most important, if not my most important, financial asset. And if it's a more carefree, efficient, and effective way of managing that asset than getting a used house, that's going to be another piece in somebody saying, yeah, I want new. I talked about the innovation piece, so we're trying to strike a compromise, right? We're trying to, for you builders out there, you got great purchasing departments. Many of you are in purchasing. I respect and totally understand your drive for the best price possible. But let's try to meet the vendors in the middle and embrace the innovation and not get hung up on last year's thing at 20% less. Now, if you do that, what we need on the vendor side of things is a willingness and an ability to come at you not with just the product features, but all of these process supports. George was talking about process supports. We're talking about, well, you need process supports that go with that product to get it into a new home. So it could be research that says, yes, this is in demand. It could be taking pieces and parts and providing a full meal, an ensemble, a full solution, and not making that the builder's duty. Marketing and sales assets are critical. Those are going to be both physical and digital, the way things go. The design and production assets, well, that could be subcontractor training, it could be subcontractor matchmaking, it can be plugging into digital design and work management systems. The ownership experience, how are you going to demonstrate to the builder, and what do you have in place to make sure when that owner has that product or feature in the home, it's actually, we've been talking about that a lot here today, but how do we make sure that that's a net promoter score plus, not a negative? And then I think recognizing that there are a lot of big builder companies and they aren't going to make wholesale switchovers. How do you support trials and tests? So that's what we're asking the vendors to bring to the equation. And I think the format of this event is one, and we use the same format that we have for Tech Home Builder for housing transformation. It's one that enables that more fulsome discussion of factors, not just the product, but the process supports. And then on the digital transformation side of things, so part of the way we're going to get more market share, got a minute 41, I'm doing okay, we've been at a natural disadvantage in the physical sales only era because used houses were always going to have an advantage, 10-to-1 advantage on inventory. Digital evens the playing field, only we're not really playing that hard on that playing field. I think, Ken, you brought the stat to us last year that the average new home listing on Zillow has 3 images and the average used house has 35 images. So we're kind of unilaterally disarming at the first point of contact with buyers. They all start digitally and they start in some of these marketplaces. So let's play harder and better there. Let's utilize all the digital sales and marketing tool sets we have to bring people down the funnel. Let's let them play with personalization with our design center technology even before they've bought the home so they understand the benefits and they can be wowed by that facet. And then once we get them to yes on the initial house, how do we sell the living daylights out of the options, not just for us because it gets our unit sales up 15 to 20 to 25%, but because it provides the buyer with the finished home that they're looking for, the personalized finished home. And then that, if we could keep that in the digital realm, that's going to drive efficiencies on the production and purchasing side of things. And it also sets us up. If we've tracked the buying journey digitally, if we've sold and created the as-built home digitally, we're sitting on consumer data that is priceless. We can help that homeowner maintain their home, we can help them with attachment categories, and we could share in that revenue. So those are some of the key concepts. That's what we're trying to deliver there. We've got 4 tracks of content, an executive track and digital solutions, finishes, structures, and systems. You all have information that was given to you by your great advisory council, by the way. You have information that was given to you by your group leaders for your boardrooms. Please return this form, even if it's just to say no, don't darken my doorway ever again. But we absolutely like to see you participating in all that we do to help builders make progress on home technology, on digital transformation and innovation. There's something for almost every discipline within a high volume home building company that we can offer. And we'd like to work with you differently on this. Instead of like calling you and saying, hey, you want to come to this year's event, we would rather have a more strategic, long-term planned approach where we can look at what your needs are, we can look at who the players are that could benefit from what we offer, and really have a more structured, planned approach to your participation in the future. Your all important accounts to us. We're not selling you anything. We need you to participate so we can sell the stuff to the vendors for sure, but we really want to help you make progress on that because that's our mission as a company. So I hope, first of all, turn these forms back, and then I've put Bob Field's number and email address on here. I don't know if Bob's in the room or not, but he's heading our industry relations efforts for the builders. You could shoot him an email and we could set up a time for a deep dive call and dig in that more strategic way, more long-term planning. So thanks for listening to the commercial. And it's time to head out and reconnect with our boardroom group leaders. Remember to get those forms back. Thank you. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, George and Residio.